And hello, everyone. Welcome to the Black Eel Podcast. It is Scott and Mike. Hopefully, Mike stays on the whole time this time. We'll have to wait and see. So,
Speaking of that, I have an issue with this recording thing because for some reason, when we're recording, you don't hear me, I hear you, and then when you actually upload the episode, there's no issues.
actually,
So,
so just to let everyone know, I had to edit it because there were 8 different mics on screen. So, for whatever reason, oh yeah, oh yeah. And the best part
I
was
wish I saw this.
you could definitely see. I had to remove all of the phone ones because they were up because it's still recorded. And then it was the ones to your face from every time you closed and reopened. So yeah, it was a lot. And even then, it still wasn't perfect. But I'm
So
happy.
I had to keep. I went on my phone because I'm like, okay, my phone I know for a fact is gonna work. But when I was opening my phone, it said, okay, you can't connect. You can't connect. So I was like, all
Oh
right, I'm
no!
just gonna
Well,
go
so the
back
funny thing
to.
is, it might have said that to you, and I thought the same thing because when we were recording, there were only 3 bubbles, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Whatever reason, when I got it onto my computer after the download, there was me, and then like it was a collage of you. I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. I refuse to do it. It did come out better than I expected, but it still wasn't perfect, and I really don't care. Anyway, let us move on from that. Let's talk about exactly what's going to happen today. Okay, so we're gonna. I hate myself. So anyway, we're gonna move right into talking about Invincible episodes 1 and 2. We're gonna go into the season finale of Gen V and what that leads into the boys' universe. Then we will go into the trailer for Echo that was just dropped, I believe, this week. Might have been last week, but either way, it was in between the episodes. Um, then we will go into the Marvels overall, and then we're going to talk about the after credit scenes and where that leads into the MCU for the future. And then we are going to talk about the season finale of Loki. And then we end, as we always do, with a character spotlight from each of us. So, because this is a jam packed episode, let's go right into the Invincible episodes 1 and 2. So, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike. I mean, we're going to go in more detail in general about like our thoughts on it. But overall, episode 1 was basically about first off noticing that there's a multiverse
Yep.
where apparently in most universes, Invincible and Omni Man team up to take over the world. Something I was not prepared for.
Invincible decides that he's gonna stick with his dad.
Yeah, kills a lot of people, and then paralyzes a couple others. We'll go into more detail about that in a second. Um, yeah, he paralyzes Eve.
Yep. I forgot about that actually.
Yeah, I think the worst part of that little tidbit was when Omni Man goes, "Oh, so that's what you were practicing for those with those protesters." That one really, like, really just took the cake.
Yep.
And like I said, we're going to go into more detail about this because we're going to talk about different parts that we thought were more important. But I just want to give a quick overview of just the 2 episodes. So we talk about, like I said, the multiverse starting, and apparently there's a guy who makes portals interdimensionally and is able to travel those multiverses. The 2 brothers, the blue guys, were teleported out and brought in by the multiverse guy. Yes.
Not brothers, twins. Clones.
Well, they call themselves brothers.
That's true.
So you're right. They are clones.
Yeah,
They
but
are
they call
clones.
themselves the
But they
brothers. Yeah.
call each other brothers because they don't know who's the real one, and they do that on purpose.
Yes.
That being said, he then has those two come in to try to build a device so he can have his entire multiverse of selves put all their minds into his, so he can then know everything he needs to know to stop Omni Man and Invincible, which is really weird. Invincible and his mom are trying. Is it Linda? No, what's his mother's name? But anyway, um, it's portrayed as Sandra Oh. Sandra Oh is the voice actress. But anyway, and I can remember that, but not the character's name.
Debbie.
Um, Thank you, Debbie. So Debbie and Mark are both dealing with the aftermath of what happened when Omni Man and Invincible fought, and she is not taking it well, and either is he. But the difference is Mark. I don't want to say gets over it because that's not the right phrasing I want to use, but he definitely is better off at the end of episode one than his mother. And in fact, his mother goes into a more of a spiral in episode two,
That's true. They both kind of go into different.
dealing with it differently.
They're both dealing with it differently.
But I
Definitely.
also think, because you're right, I agree with you. But I think the real reason why is because he's worried he's going to become his dad, right?
Yes.
And so that's terrifying him. Not only of all the other stuff that's going on, right? But like that's his big thing that he's got to deal with.
Yes.
The other stuff isn't as big of a deal for him, like his dad trying to kill him or anything like that. I know it sounds weird to say, but like that wasn't the main issue he had because his dad left. You know what I'm saying? Like it's more of like I'm going to become my dad. Where Debbie was realizing that the man that she loved didn't really love her, and she was just a pet,
Hmm.
and the fact that her son is him in a weird way. So like she's like concerned that he'll become him, even though she knows he won't. But like, will he think so? And it's just a whole cluster of stuff, right?
I love that how you're trying to explain this. You're trying really hard not to confuse yourself.
Oh, and it is very difficult. I promise you, once we got into the multiverse, I was mostly gone. Um, anyway, so they Mark gets back into working with Cecil. I remember that name. Um,
Proud of you.
yeah, I can't remember his partner's name though, so bear with me. Um,
Yeah.
well, he's not dead apparently,
Nope.
which is a whole
Nope. He
nother
is not.
thing. So anyway, Invincible wants to work with Cecil, and Cecil's like, no, not going to happen. I don't want you on the team until basically until he knows he can control him. So, after a lot of talking and everything else, Invincible finally convinces him to work with him, and I believe his first mission is to stop the surge of the brothers, like the energy from the brothers. Am I correct on that?
Yes. They're picking up. They're seeing that the brothers broke out.
Yep,
They
and there was an energy surge in their area, and they weren't sure exactly what they were doing.
yeah, they had surveillance of them collecting equipment, and then they
Correct.
found then the radiation surge finally started, and that's when they sent him in.
And then all of the other brothers from all the multiverses, along with a sister, um, I know, start beating on Mark Invincible until he's a bloody mess, and then the system overloads, and the guy tries to take off his helmet before it was finished, and a massive explosion happens, and so it. I will say this: it presented that everyone died except for Invincible. That's how it was presented.
Yes, and the system didn't overload. The system was going great. They were almost done, but because the Mauler twins were going to kill Invincible, he decided to cut it short, and because he cut it short, that caused the system to self
Overload
destruct.
and explode
Yes.
because it wasn't going to where it was supposed to go.
Yeah, him taking it off mess whatever it
Everything
was.
else.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever energy surge that was coming into him was not fully going in anymore, and
Mhm.
it caused an explosion. Excuse me. So it melted a lot of melted the brothers, um, and that's how I'll say phrase it that way for a reason. And then the Guardians come in to clean up the mess, which they obviously didn't do a good job of. And Invincible was told to go home. And I believe the episode ends with the remaining brother that survived, who's half melted, and the brain guy being alive. And the reason why I'm calling him the brain guy is because when they found him, his head is mostly brain.
Yeah, I would call him multi-dimensional traveler or whatever, but
Yes, but now I call him the brain.
the brain, Pinky and the brain.
Not a sponsor. So I had to say it. It was just funny. So anyway, so now he has this massive brain, and he teleports out of there. And then the brother's PO'd because he's left there half melted, and he basically says, "This is why I don't want to work with people anymore," and then leaves.
Yeah, this is why I don't help anyone but myself.
Correct. And now the only thing I don't remember, now I remember it happening. I don't remember which episode because I watched them both at the same time. Um, did the. Oh no, it had to have. So the Guardians have a new leader. It is the Immortal,
Hmm.
and they bring in a new team member called Bulletproof.
Yep.
Um, and the reason for the leadership change and everything else is because I cannot remember his name. The brains, the one in the robot. Is it just robot? No, it can't be robot. Anyway,
I don't remember.
it doesn't matter. So ever since he now has a living body that is something he actually cares about, he um, he is terrified of dying and has hesitated multiple times. Even though he still has his massive intellect, there's still a piece missing where he's realizing he could die, and so he's scared. And so, because of that lapse in judgment, he's actually been removed as leader, and now the immortal is now the leader. And I believe that's how episode one ends. Correct? Well,
I mean, there's
it ends with the multi traveler leaving, and then the burnt guy going away.
there's we in the immortal ends up confronting Invincible, and he tells him that he doesn't trust him because he trusted his
Oh,
father,
you're
and
right. I knew there was something I forgot. You're right. And he's like, "Oh, I don't know if you heard. I'm working with Cecil now." And he goes, "Yeah." He says you're a part of the team, but I don't trust you.
mhm.
And in
and
fairness, and
that
in
crushes.
fairness, I mean that's legitimate. I
No,
mean,
it is. I mean, it is.
he's not just going around beating them. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Um, so then episode two is basically Mark working with Cecil, almost missing his graduation, and then having to go down to Atlantis thinking he was going to have a wife.
Yeah,
Um, Turning out he had
instead
to
of
fight.
execution.
Yeah, and then having to fight a massive crustacean
Yeah, that was interesting.
who he barely beat, and I'm not even confident he killed it. Um,
I think he
I'm
did in the
assuming
end.
he did. Here's the thing.
Yeah,
I'm assuming he did. That being said, we don't fully know.
they didn't show it, but I'm assuming
Correct.
once he found the crack in the armor, he just exploited that until he killed it.
Was able to escape, and then he came out on an island. Well, no, not an island, just on the shore, and coughed up
Yeah,
a lot of green, which made me think he
and
kind of like ate him.
I
Well,
don't think he did
no,
that.
no, but you know what I'm saying because it wasn't like ocean water. It was way
Yeah.
too dark green. Anyway, so that was Invincible's basically storyline for that episode, for the most part. Adam Eve was trying to do good, fixing up Chicago, and it turned to not to work too well. She was able to fix the buildings, but she made a park on an area that wasn't stable, and it collapsed. And I don't think did anybody die. I know people
No,
got hurt,
no one died.
but people got hurt. Um, and so that was the thing. That was Adam and Eve's thing, specifically also with her parents apparently trying to help out with the money situation, and Dad was not having it.
Her
Um,
dad just does not like her.
no, no, not even a little. I'm trying to think of, and then the Guardians are now. They added a new member, the shapeshifter man. What was this? What did he give himself?
Yeah, shapeshifter man.
Who's just a Martian in disguise. Um, that's not even an exaggeration.
Right.
And then we find out what happened on Mars because of that. Apparently, the whatever you want the what were they? They were like a it was like a parasite
Yeah, it was a parasite.
that literally got into all the Martians except for obviously one.
But it was, but he like the parasite main controlled the human that the Martian
That
is
was the
now.
first one, yes. And then
Yeah.
they took over the Martians.
Yes.
But it looked like they killed them instead of taking them over because I don't think they could actually take over their body.
So like I was confused by that because it seemed like the parasites were like climbing on top of the dead bodies, so I didn't know if they were like trying to reanimate the dead bodies.
Well, I think they said it in the episode before, like in season one, when he went to Mars,
Hmm.
that the Martians weren't affected by it.
Oh, okay. I don't remember that.
I think it had to do with their shape shifting abilities. Like it didn't
It's
affect them.
possible. Yeah, that makes sense.
And then we assumed that the guy that was in the ship was the one that got attached by the creature, and it turns out we were wrong. It was a shape shifting Martian that got on.
Yes. Yep.
So anyway, he now joins the gang,
Clearly.
and huh?
I say clearly.
Yeah. Well, no, no, you're absolutely right. But what I'm saying is, before we thought it was the parasite that got on, and we
Yeah.
were wrong. For myself, anyway. And then the apparently duplicate is
Yeah.
sleeping with Immortal, the Immortal, all of them. So that's fun. And Rexplosion is disappointed because he was hoping he was going to keep sleeping with her, and apparently he's been denied,
Yeah.
and so he's depressed. And that's pretty much what's been going on. I mean, oh, and Cecil um, is trying to figure out what's going on, and in the sense of like there's weird things happening, and he's not 100% sure what's going on, and it's alluding to the fact that he might know that there's a multiversal issue going on, but it is unclear because we don't actually see any hints of it.
Mm.
But we also have him having an interaction with Debbie, and what saved him was his partner coming in asking her how she was doing, and she freaked out and left, mostly due to the fact that she saw him or knew that he blew up. And he's like, "What's wrong with her?" He's like, "Nothing. It's just what happened with her husband."
Yeah. Yeah.
And also in this episode, Debbie has a mental breakdown because it really shows that she's really still hurt. Even though she wants to move on, she really has not gotten over the fact of her husband calling her a pet. Um,
She's trying to stay strong,
and
and
she's,
it's
yeah, not
it's
working.
overloading her.
She's trying to be. Now, here's the thing: by no means is she not strong. I'm not
No.
stating that whatsoever. She's just dealt with a lot more than most people should ever deal with.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and she's trying to go back to normalcy, and she's not actually ready. But
No.
I think also, too, she's also too stubborn to realize it, too. I think she sort of got it at the end of the episode, but throughout the episode, I think she was just too stubborn to really register, like, she wasn't ready.
Yeah. No. She was trying to get her. She figured she would distract herself with her regular life to be able to move on, and that
But she couldn't.
clearly was not helpful whatsoever. She tried to. She. I feel like she did try to get away. She was offering her son to go on vacation. Um,
Hmm.
and the fact that Mark turned her down, hurt more. And the fact that she misspoke and said that you're not going to turn into your father, and he got offended by that. Um, and then finally, everything just building up, and then she trying to sell the home, and the couple was fighting, and her turning around to the client saying that she's not your pet.
I
Um,
will say this, though. She at least had enough strength to not just yell it.
yeah.
She kind of like whispered it, like under
Yes.
her breath. Now, granted, it was still heard,
Hmm.
but I got to give her at least enough credit to say, like, even though, like, she said it, she didn't, like, say it. It's a weird thing to say.
At the end of the day, she was able to keep her cool until the end of the episode. She
Correct.
was
No,
in
no,
the
no,
privacy
100%.
of her own home until Mark came home, saw her breaking down, and it was kind of upsetting, I'll be honest, because at first when Mark tried to embrace her, she was
Put her
pushing
hand.
him away, and I thought that was going to be like Mark. I thought that would have like I thought originally that was going to hurt Mark even more and push him more away, but luckily, he fought through it and embraced
So
her
I,
and had her released.
so how I took that scene was a mother not wanting her son to comfort her because she's supposed to be the parent. That's how I took it. And
I
here's the
agree
thing,
with you.
but it could have easily been taken that he's a monster and she didn't want to be near him. You know, it,
Yes.
it was it could have easily been both, like taken both ways,
So I agree with you. That's her thought process.
but it could have early gone the other way from him for him his
For
side.
him, he could have taken it that way.
Correct.
Um, because especially in the earlier part of the episode when he said, "You think I'm him,"
Mhm.
so you know, with the fact that they're both not mentally there, you know, any
No,
little twist
absolutely.
can happen.
But I think he's also becoming more mentally there now. I think him working has made him feel better because he's doing good.
Yes.
He's nowhere where he needs to be for obvious reasons, but he
No.
definitely is getting better and is on the right path. Also,
He's
one thing we
working and
forgot,
he's happy with his friends and his girlfriend. So, everything is,
and he's going to college with his girlfriend too,
yes.
the
Yes, he
same
is.
one.
Could go,
Um,
that could end badly. They always say don't do that, but yeah.
I mean, realistically, my whole thing is I don't understand why he would need to when he's invincible. He could literally just visit her every day, and like because he's super
That's
fast.
true.
That's just
That's
me
true.
personally. I mean, that's my thing, but whatever. The other thing too was that we forgot to mention was the interdimensional traveling guy made it to another universe where Mark was chained up, where we got to
Yep.
see a female
Cecil.
Cecil and a female whatever his partner is.
Yeah, I'm forgetting his name. Dobbs. Was it
If,
Dobbs? No,
I don't know.
I don't
But it
remember.
obviously wasn't that when we when we saw him in that universe. Let me say. Um, and he was trying to get all the information out of Mark on how he was captured and how Omni Man was killed.
Yep.
And he got a bunch of information and then left after basically telling Cecil to be like, "Hey, make sure he suffers for what he did," and then leaves. And Mark's like, "Wait, you said you were going to get me out of here. What the heck?"
Mm-hmm.
So he's building up a way to kill Mark and Omni Man.
Yep.
And we know Cecil of our universe also knows that there's sound waves um, that hurt Mark.
Yes. Yep. He's trying to take the sound waves from the creature. Yep.
Correct. So
Um,
I mean, realistically, that was the end of the two episodes. The big thing I think is going to happen is going to be a big buildup of the interdimensional guy building an army and a force to be able to take out the Invincible.
yes. No, that's definitely how it seems like it's going. I'm curious if the um, the main. I'm just gonna say the main universe. I'm gonna say the
No,
main
that's fine. I agree with
universe's
you.
Omni Man is gonna reappear, if they're gonna save him for next season. Um,
I have a feeling, and this is just me. I feel like it's going to end with Omni Man coming back,
that's how I'm seeing it.
and that's
Um,
just by this buildup of what they're
yeah,
doing so far. That's what I'm thinking. But anything can happen.
yeah. Um,
Also, too, I mean, we're gonna see. I feel like he's gonna try to kill. I feel like he's gonna try to kill other Invincibles before our Invincible,
I agree. He's definitely going to try to, learn what he can and then test it out in another universe. And
and
then once he,
potentially have all the other Invincibles come to this universe to try to get this Invincible to join them. And I don't think it's going to work out because I feel like most of them are going to be Omni Man, Omni Man, Omni Man, and our Invincible is not.
yeah, meh, we can see that.
Yeah. So I thought it was good. It was a good two episodes. They weren't. I mean, I don't. They were Invincible episodes. I don't think they were super incredible based on everything else that happened these past couple of weeks. But it's still a good. But it's still a good two episodes
No, they were good 2 episodes. They were good starts of the season, good introduction to what's going on into the season. Give us a taste of what to expect.
and a taste of
Um,
the multiverse, which I think is huge.
yep. It is, it wasn't like a mind blowing couple of episodes, but like you said, they were good, and they were just good introductions. We'll see what the rest of the season takes us. We have two more episodes before the
For
break,
the break,
and then
we will get
we'll see
the
what happens.
next one's the new year. So yeah, overall, I mean, I thought it was good. I do think there's going to be some sort of multiversal war, but not in, but more of the fact of instead of it being a full out war, it's going to be more of just attacking the interdimensional guy.
Yeah, yeah, it seems like that. Yeah.
And all right, so that is Invincible. So let's move on to Gen V.
Yeah,
So
boy.
this was only the final episode, which was episode 8. I can honestly say I was pretty accurate on exactly what was going to happen until the very end.
I mean, I'll be honest. I think you were still correct with the ending.
All right, so I was, but not in the way it wasn't. I wasn't expecting it exactly the way it happened. I will say that.
You were correct if you want to like stretch it.
Yes, correct. But overall, I didn't consider myself being correct on that part. That
Yeah.
being said, I was definitely right for like the first 47 minutes of it. And then it went in a direction where my eyes just went boop.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Uh,
what happens at the last episode of Gen V, you ask? Let's talk about it. So the big thing here is our great saviors, um, God help us, Sam and Kate go down to the woods to release all of the inmates that are left from the woods to kill all humans.
all yes, yeah. We'll just go. Yeah, humans,
No, all humans.
non-soups, non-soups.
Yeah, yeah. But also kill soup pro-human soups because there were a few soups that got killed too.
Anyone that did not stand with them, anyone that like
Yes,
fought against them, that were in their way, they killed.
correct. Um, so they go pretty much. Kate sees what the virus did. Um, Granted, it was an enclosed area, so they couldn't actually get infected by it. And they saw what was happening, and then they go up to go kill all humans. While that's going down, Jordan, Emma, is it Emma? It's
Yes,
Emma.
yes.
Jordan, Emma, and Marie go down to the woods first, but they get there too late
Hmm.
and realize that everyone's escaped, and they come up with a game plan. Emma was going to go to the performing arts school and get everyone out of there. Jordan was going to try to, I believe, try to just head off the people. And then Marie was ordered to go into the dean's office to hit the lockdown.
Yeah, yeah,
So while this is all going on, Ashley, the head of art, is at the school waiting for the dean to come see her to discuss who could be the newest member of the Seven. And let's just say the dean isn't coming because she's dead. And they're trying to figure out who's going to be the next replacement. And as this is all going on, there is now mass murder, just murder everywhere, right? We also have Sam having a mental breakdown of seeing his brother trying to stop him from killing people, and then he finally gets help from Kate to not feel anything anymore, which is
yeah,
probably by far the most messed up thing I've ever seen.
yeah,
We,
yeah.
yeah,
Really, really, some really dark stuff.
yeah. I think the weirdest part was when his brother's like, "Hey, like you made me, so like in fact I'm yourself," and he's like, "Yeah, I hate myself more than anything. So Kate, make me forget."
And
And it,
Kate is like going like, and Kate is just standing there like, what is wrong with you?
but it didn't stop her from doing it. So they
Nope.
start killing everyone. That's when Emma and Sam meet up, and it does not go well whatsoever. In fact, she got everyone to escape though,
That's just, yeah. She did her job.
and then he basically knocked her down so much to the point where she actually shrunk.
Yeah.
So her powers are affected by her emotion,
Yes. Yep. She was.
depressed.
She was
He
so.
literally, he literally made her shrink. He
Yeah.
literally minimized her to the point of shrinking. I don't know how. Although, there's no other way of like describing it. Like that's literally what he did.
Yeah.
He knocked her down so much that she shrunk. Um,
She was so depressed she wanted to hide.
so then they hit the lockdown button and they pretty. I think they killed all of the inmates.
Yes. Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I mean, it
Because
was
I think
most of them were all at the same time, but yes. So anyway,
I don't think they killed all of them. I think some of them were still out and about.
I because remember one guy made one of them bite a bomb and blew it up.
Yep.
And then there were only five, remember? They were all killed.
What happened to the guy that broke the sonic alarm?
He was killed.
Was he? I don't
Yeah,
remember. I don't remember how he
yeah.
died.
His was later. He I forget if it was somebody punched him. I thought somebody punched him in the jaw.
Oh, okay.
I thought Jordan punched him, either punched him or blasted him in the face.
All right. I don't remember his death, but okay. I
And then the
remember
last
the
two
guy
were
that was
killed by
teleporting
Marie.
going after the helicopter. I remember him getting
Well,
what?
there were three people that died in front of the helicopter,
Yeah.
and that most of them were from Marie. And then right when Kate was about to touch Jordan, Marie blew her arm off, literally.
Yeah. And that's when
Andre,
Homelander shows up.
no. Andre was fighting Sam, which is why Sam couldn't help, and that's when Homelander comes down.
Yeah.
And Marie's like, "Oh, thank goodness you're here." And he's like, "I'm sorry. Do you have a problem with your own kind?" And then laser blasts her in the chest. And that's how we think the episode ends until a
Yeah.
little bit later.
Yeah. You give
She
it two
wakes.
seconds.
Well, it was enough of a blackout to make you think, like, do not tell me that's how it ends.
Yeah.
But I thought the ending was worse in the sense of like the way like it ended, because it was like you wanted so much more. But anyway, Homelander comes in, blasts her in the chest. Right? They wake up in a hospital with no rooms. I mean, no doors or windows, and they find out that they were the murderers at Godlick U, and that the Guardians of Godlick, the new Guardians, which are Sam and Kate, saved the day, and Homelander was there to help, just clean up the mess at the end. But it was because of those great heroes that that Godlick University was able to flourish again. Okay, I had a problem there, and then we find out that Homelander is running all the media of all of this and is happy about it, right? And so Homelander is getting his wish where soups are superior, which is also terrifying. And then the very end, we see our friend Butcher in the woods looking for the virus. And then he says his famous word that I'm not allowed to say.
It
I mean, I'm
is
allowed to
not
say it,
PG.
but it is. We will be canceled. So
Yeah.
that's how it ends. It's supposed to lead right into The Boys season 4, which is going to be related but not really. It's going to be heavily influenced, but not actually. You wouldn't need to see it to actually watch it.
Yep.
And it's supposed to be Homelander is now raising an army of soups to get ready to take over the world.
Yep. So this is supposed to take, according to the director, it's supposed to take place 1 month after the events of Genevieve, and yeah, like
And
it's
supposedly, the season 4 finale is supposed to lead right into immediately into Gen V season 2.
yep. That's
So yeah, there's a lot that's going to happen, and I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, we know Butcher is at least healthy enough to be walking around in the woods.
yeah. We'll see. I mean, obviously, we don't really know how much time has really passed
No, you're
because
absolutely right.
I know that they said that he had 18 months to live.
Correct. But we also know he's too stubborn to go down
Well, yeah.
quiet.
I mean, obviously, he's not going to go down easily. But I didn't, you never know what actually
But
happens,
also,
obviously.
it wasn't like we saw a lot of him either. He can
Hmm.
be fine for like like the 3 minutes we saw him, and then after 5 or 10 minutes, he's throwing up. You know what I mean?
True. You're not wrong with that. That's very true.
But you're
Uh,
absolutely right. He does have, I think, 18 months to live, at least
uh,
as of the end of season 3.
yes. But that episode was phenomenal. This season was great. They
Everything was great. It was unexpected. No, there was enough twists that nobody could have gotten it right.
no, no,
I mean, they made
absolutely.
such a push of Golden Boy that I thought he was going to be the main star of it all. And I mean, that was a big twist from the get go. There were a lot of like people that they praised meaning like in the trailer and stuff,
They
and
hyped
it
up.
turned out to not to be the lead. They
Yeah.
pulled a screen. They pulled a screen.
No, they did.
Um,
They did a great
the
job
re-
with that, and they did such a great job with the emotion and just touching on like the societal problems we have and tying it into a very gory TV show.
and I think we've discussed this before too. The Boys is bloody and violent, and it does show how messed up the world is. But this was the more human side of Soups, where we got to see the mental health issues. We got to see their trauma and how it affects their powers. You know what I mean? Like that. I think we didn't get
They
to see a
dived
lot.
they dived a lot more into it.
Yes,
Um,
they did a phenomenal job.
yeah, they. I mean, granted, like I mean, with the boys, we definitely see the mental issues that each character goes through. I mean, you see Homelander breaking down mentally. You see the Deep with his psychoticness. A Train with his need to be the best. Um, all
But it wasn't as in depth as this was. I do agree
yes,
with you. It existed. It definitely did exist. There were layers of it, right? But I feel like this one peeled
no,
those layers back and was like, "We're gonna give you all of it. We're
oh
gonna
yeah,
give you. We're gonna give you harming yourself. We're gonna give you breaks in reality. We're gonna give you eating disorders. We're gonna give you everything and
and
social media."
I think this really shows a great divide, and just in general with different generational the different generations. Like the boys is like the older generation where things, you know they have issues, but they're too proud to talk about it. Whereas our generation is more open to it, and you see it a lot more now, and that made it. The boys was the more, like I said, the boys was up there. They were the older generation that, oh, we have problems, but we're gonna fight them. We're not gonna show the problems. Whereas our generation is Gen V, where we have harming yourself, we have depression, we have mental breakdowns, like you said, the
Breaks and realities, really. I mean, that's what it
breaks of
comes down to.
realities. Yep.
It wasn't specifically diagnosed, but it would be like a form of some form of schizophrenia where he literally breaks from reality where he sees puppets.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he sees dead people too, but like as weird as it sounds, the puppet things were more concerning than his dead brother.
Yeah. I mean, the dead brother could be because of his isolation.
Well, I was also going to say too, like that isn't as unheard of as the puppet thing.
Hmm.
You know what I'm
Although the
saying? Like
puppet thing could have been from the isolation as well. But
yes, but it was unclear whether or not he had mental health issues before anyway. Like they
correct.
hinted that he kind of did,
Yeah.
but it
It
definitely
was kind of, it was like you said, it was hinted, but it wasn't actually confirmed.
but it
So,
definitely got a lot worse with the isolation for sure.
yeah.
Overall, cannot wait for anything new in that universe. Let's be honest.
No, no, I
We're not
cannot
getting
wait to
anything
see
until
what's next.
well. The good thing is it's almost 2024 anyway, and we're getting a new season then. So hopefully things will go well. But overall, I thought it was great. I know you did too. It was the perfect amount of everything.
Yeah, no, they did a great job. That
Yes.
like I was kind of nervous going into the show. I had faith because I love the boys. They've done a great job, but no, they hit it out of the park.
No,
I
I
mean,
agree. I think for me, and I will agree to this as well. There gets to a certain point where you hit your peak, right?
mm,
And to be fair, we thought they keep hitting it, and yet it keeps going up and up. So there is going to get a point where it doesn't necessarily get stale, but there's got to be a point where it peaks. But we're not there yet, and I think that's
no,
the most exciting part of it all. Is that every time we think we hit the max, they just take it up just enough more, just to make it even better, and they do.
what's great about this show, this universe,
This
is
universe,
that
let's be honest.
um, when we're not so inclined with the comics, like we
Yes,
know some of the comics stuff and whatever, but the show itself is a layer, like it's a calmer version of the comics. So if we want things like when we're like, oh, this was crazy, the comics was worse.
Oh,
So
100%.
like when we're like, oh, they've hit their peak of like what mind blowing thing can they do? Oh, they could still just keep upping the notch, and
Eventually, yeah.
until they get to the point where it says hit that top part with the comics, they're gonna keep pressing those boundaries. Like I know, like Hero Gasm was a huge thing from season 3, and everyone always talks about, oh, that was just this was nothing compared to what they did in the comics, but for TV,
It was
that's pretty
huge. Oh,
big.
100%. And I think everything was huge. And I think you're absolutely right. But they've deviated themselves from the comics
Hmm.
so much, and not to the degree where it like ruins it, but they made it its own entity now. Like,
Yes.
yes, they've dampened some of the scenes from the comics for obvious reasons, but they've also changed it enough where it's its own story. And because the comics weren't that big to begin with, it doesn't ruin anything either.
No, no.
That's the big thing.
People are accepting of this because it's such a good show. They they don't they pay homage to the source material without just completely spitting in its face.
Also, true. The other thing too is it's like those who read it also know, like, oh no, they couldn't. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like realistically, like they're like nobody's complaining. Like, oh, the scene with Starlight and the Deep was not accurate because there were two people missing, and it's like, no, it makes sense because that would have been a lot worse. It
Yeah.
was already bad to begin with, but it would have been a lot worse.
Yeah. Absolutely. No,
So
they
yeah, no, I definitely love it. The show is great. The entire universe is great.
no.
Um,
It's
but
such a great change to the typical modern superhero genre, and it's such a nice breath of fresh air.
it's a parody. It
Yeah.
is. I think the reason why it's so popular, and it's not the only reason, but I think one of the big reasons is it's a parody on superheroes, and that right there, because of how big superhero stuff is right now, it makes the most amount of sense why this series does so well. Because the people who don't like superhero movies and stuff love it, and those who do like it also love it. So they're bringing multiple groups together.
Yep. Yeah, they're combining it,
Very
and they're
smart.
doing a great job combining it.
And it's Amazon Prime. I mean, they have some decent shows and movies.
No, they do. They really do. Not a
Um,
sponsor.
although Jeff Bezos will gladly accept the sponsorship.
Yeah.
Um, it's not going to happen, but a kid can dream.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, overall, I'm very excited. The fact that we're getting a season 2 for Gen V, we knew we were getting a season 4 of The Boys already, so that's not a shock. But I guess we'll have to. They won't confirm anything until season 4 comes out on whether or not there's going to be a season 5 of The
Yeah.
Boys. I would imagine that there's going to be at least 2 more seasons of The Boys. So I'm talking about season 4 and 5 might be the end.
Okay.
I think 5 might be the end, but I'm saying it with a preface. It will die with Butcher.
I think yes. When
Seriously, that's really what it comes down to.
the end of the seat show will be when Butcher is gone, but
But Gen V will still continue.
I think they're gonna start setting up spin-offs. So we
Oh
have
yeah,
Gen V. They're gonna create other spin-offs to keep the boys universe going with even
but
after the
but the
boys.
Boys itself won't will eventually not be a thing anymore.
Yes.
I'm thinking, like I said, I'm thinking season 5. Which here's the thing: just because the boys are done does not mean the universe is done. Which I think
Mhm.
is what they've now proven.
Yes. Absolutely.
But anyway, it
Um,
was a great show.
definitely.
All right, let's move on to Echo.
That was a great trailer.
So, for those of you who don't know, January 10th, Echo will be the first MCU show to not only premiere on both Disney Plus and on Hulu, but it'll be the first one to be rated MA
And the first one to have all of its episodes released at once.
and only 5 episodes.
Yes.
So it's a everything new. So this is going to be the first rated M for mature show, and it is really going to show whether or not Disney will be able to deal with um, the violence, the blood and gore of it all.
Yep. This is going to be the introduction. I think they said this is going to be the introduction of Marvel's Spotlight, which is the street level heroes. Um, so like Spider-Man, Daredevil, Echo. Um, it's going to be it's going to be separated from the overall MCU.
But still in the same universe.
It's the same universe, but it's going to
Street level.
they're going to be doing their own thing instead of being in the multiverse saga.
Yeah, so yes, you're absolutely correct. But it's also going to be the more, well, if it was a movie, rated R, right? So this is going to determine how Disney handles its mature content. Because I'm trying to figure out how to phrase it. Because realistically, I think the reason why they're promoting it both on Hulu and Disney Plus is to try to figure out where their market is going to be. Because they might want to focus it on Hulu if they get more people on Hulu to watch it. Um,
Well, no matter what, it's going to be on Disney Plus.
they're going to try. They're trying many different things with this, and I think depending on how successful it is going to determine how they do things in the future. Are they going to do it all at once? Are they going to do it weekly? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I think this is going to be like their first taste of it all, right?
yeah,
So overall, I'm very much looking forward to it. We're going to be seeing Echo's past, and also how Kingpin survives.
yeah. I'm looking forward to see
So he's now missing
Kingpin
an
again.
eye.
Yep.
So he's definitely bulletproof or bullet resistant. I shouldn't say bulletproof. He's bullet resistant.
I was going to say because if he lost an eye, that doesn't make him bulletproof.
That's why I changed my answer. It's bullet resistant. Uh, I mean, honestly, it looks very. I'm curious at how it's going to be done because I have a feeling it's going to be a lot of silence,
Yeah, I mean,
which
obviously.
which I think is part of the reason why they're doing all 5 episodes at once. Because I feel like, and again, it makes sense why a lot of it will be just action and fighting. Because I mean, she's only going to be signing.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? And
we're going to
again,
be
it
hearing all the
works
characters around her.
and correct. I mean, and we're going to hear things from her perspective, which means we're not going to hear anything.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like we might feel like they might make the sounds of bones cracking specifically for the fact that she would feel it.
I mean, they gave a taste of it in the trailer with when she's in the fight scenes. Like, when she, we don't hear anything when she's
But you
fighting, but
do.
yeah,
It's
but
weird.
yeah,
We don't hear them talking or yelling, but we hear the hits.
yeah, it's
Um,
interesting.
well,
Uh,
it makes sense because now, granted, she wouldn't hear it, but that would be her way of hearing it. You know what I mean?
mhm.
She feels the vibration of the hit. She feels the vibration of the bones breaking. So it's her way of hearing it. So
Yes.
for us as audience members, that's what we hear
Hmm.
because we can't feel it. So we would then have to hear it. So that's why you don't hear them yelling and screaming, but you do hear them. Well, bones breaking.
You hear them dying. um, no,
Yes,
it is definitely going to be an interesting thing to finally get into for Disney. This is going to be good to see. Just to give, I guess, it'll be good to give the fans a little taste of what to expect with like coming
Daredevil.
into Deadpool 3, Daredevil, um, because I remember I know I sent it to you that they scrapped the Daredevil Born Again TV show and they're going to rewrite it and it's going to be more similar to the Netflix shows, so it's going to be more
Which is
dark,
what it should be.
which it should be definitely because people are going to be thinking of that, especially if they have the old actor coming back.
And a lot
So
of the old actors are coming back too.
yes,
That's the other thing.
so that'll be very good. Um, but definitely good to see Disney start branching out and not just do their typical, their usual MO. So
I also think too, depending on how successful this is, like if a lot of people watch it, I think we're going to see more. Meaning, like we're going to see Punisher. We might see, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Now, granted, we already know that Luke Cage and Iron Fist will be recasted. Iron Fist because they didn't like the actor and they're scrapping him. Luke Cage, the actor has already told them no.
yes,
Although he was a great Luke Cage.
I didn't see the Netflix show, so
Oh, I did.
I
I will
haven't.
say they were. I will say this. I didn't like how they ended, but they weren't. They ended in a way that they weren't supposed to end anyway. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like, as stupid as it sounds, the way they ended it was to lead into the next seasons, and then it never happened.
everything got cut mid season, so they didn't really have a chance to actually give a finale. The only one they gave a finale to was Punisher, and I know everyone hated it because you know.
Absolutely. So, it still was a good show, though. So good. It was. But anyway, definitely looking forward to that. That's going to be January 10th, and it'll be on Hulu and Disney Plus, where we will be watching all 5 episodes at once.
Oh, it's gonna be a jam packed. Yeah,
But we're going to talk about it as a season or a series. You know what I'm saying? So it'll be quicker than you think. All right. So after that, we're going to move on to the Marvels. I thought it was good.
yeah. No, I thought it was a great movie. Honestly, I
I think it was. I think it was under publicized, and it wasn't bad. Like my whole thing was, it was the right amount of funny, humor, and everything else. My only critique would be that the villain sucked.
yeah, the villain didn't get that much attention.
But the
They
villain
were.
also like the so I don't know if you know this. Do you know who the actress was that was the villain?
She looks familiar, but I don't. Didn't.
Well, you all right? I'll say this. At the very least, you might not know her from anything else. More of what I'm getting at is her husband is Loki.
Oh, okay.
So they were the first couple to have their um, have a have their like big debuts type of thing. Meaning, like, let me phrase it this way: they both were the first couple to have a major thing pop up on the same day.
Oh, okay.
It was the
Interesting.
season finale of Loki, and then it was her movie.
Hmm. Yeah.
I do like the idea of Captain Marvel screwing up.
Yeah.
Like I will say this, I like the story overall. I just didn't like her as a villain. It was like the villainy of it all really wasn't a villain. You know what I'm saying? Like it was more of like I don't know. It's tough.
I mean, she was kind of villain. She tried to kill 3 planets. I mean,
Well, no, she successfully killed one of them. Um,
yeah, successfully killed one,
and then
partially
tried to,
damaged, partially. Well, no, I think she successfully destroyed the second one because they didn't stop her.
yes, yes, and then
Um,
the third one was sort of safe.
yeah, third one got saved. But so yeah, so I mean that was pretty villainy. It just wasn't like the story didn't really get built up. It was just like, okay, this is the villain, this is what's going on, and that's it.
It didn't. Yeah, it really didn't. Like there was a lot missing that I felt was needed. Like how did her hammer get so powerful? Why her? You know what I mean? Like we know why she doesn't like Captain Marvel, but like how come she was the? You know what I'm saying? Like there was a.
Yeah,
If it was just, I know it's going to sound weird when I say it, but if it was just the Kree people in general, like as a race, you know what I'm saying? But I guess they needed a villain. You know what I mean?
I'm
They needed a
I'm
face.
I'm I mean, so here's the thing. I didn't mind her as a villain. Could have used a little bit more backstory, just a little bit, in the sense, like you said, how she got to where she is, why her, why did she become so powerful.
Correct.
But at the end of the day, in like to me, I saw her as just a carbon copy of what's his name from
Ronan.
Guardians? Huh?
Ronan.
Yes, Ronan.
No,
Like
that's what she was. Well, no, that's basically what she said she was.
yeah. So like it was like she was nothing special, just literally copy paste.
No, true. You're right. You're right. And I also think too, as weird as it sounds, like she wasn't the big threat, and it's going to sound weird when I say this, but like the threat was the universal destruction or multiversal destruction.
Yes.
Now, granted, she caused it, but what I'm getting at is like that was the main, like not I don't want to say villain, but that was the main issue to fix, where
Hmm.
like they were worried about her, but like that was their bigger concern.
Well, yeah. Once it started happening.
Yeah, I think I also didn't like the fact that they killed her off so quickly too. But I get it; her body wasn't made for that amount of energy.
Oh, you took a page out of my book.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. You know what it was? I think it was like if they weren't gonna make her like because they felt like more needed from her. You know what I mean? Just like with Crossbones, like they gave us like the stepping stones to something, and then kind of went or literally
So like for her, I'll be honest. I felt like I wasn't really bad. I wasn't upset about the fight scene in general. Like, I thought the
no
fight scene.
the fights were amazing. I
Yes,
will say that. That I 100% agree with. The fighting was by far some of the best we've ever seen in a movie,
yes.
and I am dying on that hill.
No, yeah, it was a good fight. It was a good fight scene, especially the. I'll be honest, like the final villain scene. That fight scene was pretty good. Like it wasn't the typical Marvel thing where like they get into the fight and the superhero just the hero just completely obliterates the villain and that's it. Like she held her own and it seemed like she was going to win, but she couldn't handle the power of the gauntlets.
She didn't
Uh,
lose because they were more powerful. She lost because of her own arrogance.
yes, she didn't understand what she was getting into, and which I mean, in actuality, like that's a lot of villains in the first place. They have an ambition and they end up,
True.
causing more damage than they expect. Um,
I
but
mean, you're not wrong.
um, it really ties in. I mean, she caused a tie-in to what saga they're continuing on with the multiverse. Excuse me. So I mean, the movie continued with it had its own story for the Marvels,
Yes,
but they managed to tie it in at the end. Like it wasn't like shove it down our throats, like oh, this is the multiverse. It
I agree.
just you
It was
know,
more towards it was hinted a little bit, but then it was really, really like obviously in our face at the very end. But
mhm.
it wasn't undigestible. It was just the realization that this needs to be fixed, or else the multiverse will be destroyed.
Yeah, yeah.
And the only way it was to be saved was with the Bangles and with Captain Marvel. So Miss Marvel had the Bangles and shot her energy at, um, Monica, who will soon be Spectrum. I'm calling it. That's her character name in the comics. That's the only reason why. So
Hmm.
the Bengals shoot their blast, and then Captain Marvel shoots her blast. They both combine. She oozes this white radiation that is very similar to Captain Marvel's energy, but the difference is because, and I'm saying it, because she's Spectrum, she literally is the white light. So she then goes in and pulls in all of the multiversal destruction, the jump point basically, and putting it back together. Now, what happens is she gets stuck on the other side.
Hmm.
But apparently, she knew that going in.
She knew it from the beginning.
Correct. And that,
uh,
my friends, is actually how it ends. Quite literally, actually. We do
kind of.
have, well, yeah, Miss Marvel comes down and she's living in Louisiana. Um, and Captain Marvel is kind of working with Miss Marvel.
And they reminisced about how they missed Monica.
By the
And
way, comedy gold, Samuel L. Jackson.
no, he was great.
We didn't talk a
This
lot
movie,
about the comedy. I will say this, like that was the movie in general, and we'll go into the after credit scenes later. But the movie itself, Samuel L. Jackson was hilarious.
No, he was great.
He had some of the best lines, the best lines.
He was great in he. So I definitely think his character got redeemed in this movie after Secret Invasion. Like after Secret Invasion, I was like, all right, I'm kind of done with him. Like it's time for him to go away. But this one definitely brought him back.
I,
I'm glad. I'm glad he's back.
oh, 100%. I think my favorite part, my favorite line was, "What did you do?" Oh, I just, I went over and touched it. He goes, "Why did you touch it?" Well, it was glowing and it was open. Or it was shiny and glowing. I forgot what she said, or radiating energy or whatever. He goes, "Can you not touch stuff that's glowing? Can we just make that a thing now? Can that be a thing? Just don't do it." Um,
And I
his,
love the
his
part.
interaction with the family was hilarious too.
Great. It's great.
That,
No, there was another funny part when Miss Marvel's falling and he's trying to get Monica to go fly up to save her, and she's like, "I can't do it, I can't do it," and she's like, "Monica, black girl magic, go!" She
it was just
just
perfect. It was hilarious and it was perfect. And then when Captain Marvel crashed, she goes, "Oh, thank God, it's Carol."
it's just Captain Marvel.
It was perfect. Like everything he did was perfect. Like especially when he was like bringing the family up into space, and he's like, it was everything was perfect. I think the only thing that we didn't talk about that was really important. Well, it really wasn't super important, but the Flarkin was perfect. And then they had all the Flarkins eat the crew, so they could get all the cats on the one working spacecraft. Oh,
I,
we did forget one cameo in the movie. The King of Asgard.
King of Asgard.
hmm New Asgard.
Oh, right. Okay, yep, yep. Valkyrie. Yep,
Valkyrie. So she
yeah,
came in and got all the scrolls out of there.
yes, yep. um, it makes me interested. Like, I'm interested now in what has happened in the universe with like the scrolls and the Kree, because it seemed like there's kind of like a edgy kind of piece. Um,
Well, it seems like they weren't at peace yet. They just weren't attacking each other anymore. Because it sounds like the Kree were dying and the scrolls were hiding.
yeah,
That's really what how I took it. And the only reason why they decided to meet together was because she's proven that she was powerful enough to destroy things, and she wanted to work with them, mostly for
sure.
the resources.
Yeah, she wanted the resources. Yeah,
But in the end, that's the reason why they were friends. And I use
yeah,
that phrase very lightly. But no, the
sure.
Flarkins were hilarious, the little kitties. Um, Samuel L. Jackson and Miss Marvel's parents and brother, the four of them are a comedy. They need their own show. Samuel L.
Uh,
Jackson with Miss Marvel's family needs to have their own show because by far that was the funniest interactions of all time. And the fact that the mother kept threatening to kill Carol was mwah,
that
priceless.
was so funny, and it just the entire time she's like, "What did she say?" Don't worry about it.
Not only that, the mother also fighting like the three of them fighting aliens
Yeah.
was incredible.
Um, I have to take a detour real quick. I'm very, I'm personally curious because I had never heard anything since then. After Miss Marvel aired, there were reports that the father was under investigation for child abuse or child porn or something. I never heard anything after that, so I'm curious, like if it just fell under the radar or if their Disney is just ignoring it, because I'm pretty surprised by that.
Hold on. I guess. Hold on.
But yeah, no, it was a great movie. A lot of comedy gold. I was dying in the theater. Like
So it
it
does
was.
say so it does say what you said, but
No, just
Um,
nothing. Nothing has come to be.
yeah,
I'm
I don't.
surprised.
Well, I don't know. I'm trying to. Well, there's an ad. Of course, there is. Um, I'm just keep talking for a second. I'm just reading it.
But yeah, no,
There
the
really
movie
wasn't
was
much.
great.
No, it's there's not a lot of information about it though. So I don't know. I'm not saying anything about it being legitimate or not. I just don't. It obviously doesn't have a lot of press, or
Yeah.
else they would have canned them. Like seriously, I mean, all joking
No,
aside, they,
that's why I was surprised because after the show I was like, oh, he was so good in his role, and then when I saw that I was like, well, I guess he's done now. And the fact that he was in Miss Marvel, I'm like, I'm surprised.
no, I didn't even know about it to be honest with you. So that clearly shows how little press it's gotten. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that was his last thing. It was already filmed. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? I
yeah,
mean, that's
because
the other thing.
Miss Marvel came out last year, right?
Yeah, but
Yeah, so yeah,
they also filmed Marvels right after Miss Marvel.
yeah,
So
it was
like
around the same
so
time.
like no, like once they finished filming Miss Marvel, they filmed Marvels. So like it was right after it. Even though the movie came out later, I think they filmed it right after.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
so it might not have hit the fan yet.
Mm, but
But
yeah,
anyway, no,
no,
it was a good movie. I liked it, and I thought it was just a great. It was a great union of three characters together that were together and yet not at the same time,
they had such the three of them worked really well together.
and they were
Uh,
so different that it worked.
the fact that this movie was only like 100 minutes, it was a little over an hour and a half, shortest Marvel movie yet. It flowed pretty well. It didn't seem short. I mean, I thought like it felt like a normal length. Like, I mean, obviously, an hour and a half is a normal length movie, but we're used to Marvel movies being at minimum 2 hours.
Yes.
So, it felt the flow was honestly pretty fine. Like it didn't
No, I
feel
agree with
rushed.
you. I think for sure it didn't feel short. It didn't.
Definitely did. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, there were some parts where they probably could have extended a couple of little things.
Yeah, but
Um,
at the same time, it didn't
but
ruin it either.
yeah, it wasn't necessary.
No, the only
The
thing that I wish
CGI
they
was
took
good.
the what?
The CGI, I didn't have
No,
any issues with any
no,
CGI scenes,
no, I agree.
which has been
And
a
the
big
music.
issue as of late for Marvel. Um,
No, I agree with you that the CGI was good. It worked out. I think also too, like they didn't do any like as weird as it sounds, like super close ups, except for like when they weren't at radiating massive amounts of energy. You know what I'm
mhm.
saying?
Yeah.
Um, I love the musical planet.
It's just- I just love when after the fact. Oh yeah, he's bilingual. Oh, what?
I think for me, it's just like they're singing in English.
And how do you not understand?
I like how Monica was trying to, and then they were like, and one of them needs to be happier, and she's like, it was perfect. So let's go into the um, after credit scenes.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about the first one first, which was the introduction to the new Avengers. And did you get the thing that Miss Marvel was trying to do?
What was she trying to do?
She was trying to imitate Nick Fury.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. She was.
All
Yep,
right.
yep. Okay.
That was by far like the most perfect way to do it because it plays homage to how it all began,
Yep.
and yet it's its own thing too. Did you also know that the actress that plays Miss Marvel is also a writer on the Miss Marvel comics now?
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, that's awesome.
she's. I want to. I don't know. I'm assuming it had to have happened after she was casted, but still,
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's insane.
she was part of the team that killed herself because Miss Marvel died in the comics.
Yeah. Very recently, and that explains why.
So anyway, um,
No,
but
yeah, it
no,
was great. Great homage to the original setup. Like, I loved it. It screamed kid being like trying to play grown up. Like,
Oh,
it's
100%.
exactly what was going on, and I just love that Kate Bishop, is just like, you know, what's going on here? Like,
Exactly. But I also like that there's going to be, oh, we already know three members of the team now.
yep.
Because she mentioned Cassie Lang, who is Stature, which was shown in Quantumania.
Mm-hmm.
Hawkeye, which is Kate Bishop, which we obviously saw in the after credit scene. And then obviously the leader, Miss Marvel.
Yep. Now you said it was the new Avengers. Is it the new Avengers or the Young Avengers?
Sorry, you are correct. It's the Young Avengers.
Okay,
But they could easily change the name.
that is true. They could.
But no, you're right. It was originally called the Young Avengers, and to my knowledge, it's still going to be called that as of now,
Yeah, I
unless
mean,
something
like
changes.
they could change it down the road. They haven't
Correct,
officially
but
announced anything, so
well, no, they hint. I think they talked about Young Avengers to exist,
no,
that
yeah.
they were planning on it, but no, there was no like formal like what's it called?
There's no announcement in any show in any form of media. So
Correct. This is the first time we get to see it.
yes,
So we get to see the new Marvel team, and then I thought that was cool. And then we move on to what I thought was the best mid-credit scene I've ever seen.
that was a very it was very good.
Monica wakes up in a white room, hospital, mind you, I'm assuming, and she's woken up next to her mother. And she's like, Mom? And this woman is freaked out by her calling her mom and being like, What? No. And then somebody comes in to explain everything, and it is a big blue friend of ours, Beast, voiced
Flurry, fluffy blue ball.
voiced by Kelsey Grammer, who played him in the original X-Men Last Stand. Although this time he's CGI'd, which I didn't hate.
Yeah.
I thought it actually looked pretty good, all
No.
things considering. But I also think he wasn't in combat, so it worked out perfectly. I don't know if it would have worked out as well seeing him, depending on how the CGI worked.
It
But
was just him
walking,
standing still. So
no, 100%. He was just walking, so it was perfect. He was in a lab coat, glasses. Mwah, loved it. He explained exactly what happened. That Monica was in a parallel reality to her own, and that he was going to have to let Charles know what was going on.
I loved that during that he's just like, yeah, you clearly came from a different universe, but that clearly isn't possible. Like, what that's crazy. And it's like, but yeah.
And we get to see her mother's costume. And do you know what that costume represents?
I do not.
So it it is a specific character of Captain Marvel. So it is thought to be binary.
Okay.
Do you know who binary is?
No, I was about to ask who's that.
Well, good thing you asked me, Michael, because you're going to find out in my character spotlight.
I was about to say.
But anyway, we're going to get back to that later. But it's thought that she's going to be represented as binary, basically without any like ruining of anything. Binary is just another name that Carol Danvers went as at one point for a very specific reason. I'll explain later. That being said, there's also a character named Binary that I'm actually going to do a character spotlight on. So normally, when Captain Marvel went into binary form, it was when she absorbed so much energy and released it all at once, and her body literally was energy.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Okay, there's a character named Binary that is my character spotlight on, which we will talk about later. But that's basically what it is, and it would make more sense because we've already seen that actress be Captain Marvel and die. So now she would have a different name, same powers, but a different version.
Hmm.
So go by a
Although,
different name, which would make sense.
although with this one, I don't know if it was just a costume design. She had the bangles.
So
It looked like the bangles.
so this is where it gets weird, right? So like her costume, the costume. So her comic book costume, right,
Hmm.
looked very similar to what she was wearing. Meaning like Binary's costume was pretty much that. Okay.
including the Bengals.
No, and the reason for it is because it would make sense that she would have the bangles because it's radiation, like it's energy, but she didn't have them in the comics, so it doesn't ruin anything. But it would just make more sense that she would have even more power than Carol,
Yeah.
which would why she would go by binary.
Okay.
So I think that was like a homage to the costume, but also to show that she's supposed to be more powerful than our Captain Marvel, and it's because of the bangles.
Okay. Interesting.
And so that means the X Men are here.
They've officially debuted.
Well, they
Although
kind of
technically
already
they've
did.
already officially debuted.
They did, but now we have Beast, and that means the rest of the X Men will be here. Just very happy about that in general. Thought it was great. I personally, the movie was good. It was great. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I personally was more excited about the mid-credit scene than I was about. Granted, the movie was good. I'm not saying it wasn't, but that got me really excited.
Yeah.
Just
No,
because
it
that
was.
introduced the X Men, that introduces the multiverse, and the fact that the multiverses are now combining together. They're being
Mhm.
more interactive, which means we're getting closer and closer to Secret Wars and the
And
end
it
of the
also
multiverse.
ties into Loki.
Yes, which we're now moving into now.
Before we move on, listen, we end. I always ask you this at the end of every movie. Rate it from 1 to 10.
My initial reaction is 7.5.
Okay. I was gonna give it an 8.
So here's my thing. I was going to say an 8, but I feel like it was because I was going to say that because of how low my expectations were of this movie.
You. So wait, you're saying you're giving it a 7.5 because your expectations were so low, or you were going to give it
No,
an
no,
8
no.
because
I
your
was going to
expectations
give it higher than what I was originally going to say
were. Uh-huh.
because I was thinking of like how great it is and everything else. But I feel like the reason why I thought it was so great was comparing it to what I thought it was going to be. But in actuality, it's a 7.5. That's how I'm figuring in my head.
Okay. I guess that works. That's a weird way to come to your conclusion, but oh, the
No,
movie
no,
exceeded my expectations, but it only was good because it exceeded my expectations. So I'm gonna rate it lower because it was
well, because here's
better
the
than
thing.
I thought it
My
was.
expectations were so low on this movie that I felt like, yeah, it did so much better than my expectations. But was it in general a phenomenal movie? I mean, it definitely was. It wasn't bad. It wasn't. It definitely wasn't the worst movie for sure.
so here, so I'm gonna
Well,
so going.
don't do it. Don't ask me to compare it to other stuff yet.
Well, I'm going to compare it to other stuff. So like comparing it to these past few Marvel movies, comparing it to Thor: Love and Thunder, comparing it to Quantumania. I'm not comparing it to Guardians because that's going to blow it out of the water. But comparing it to the last three, I enjoyed this one more than those other two.
So I was actually thinking. So how I was going to describe it was like it's in between Ragnarok, meaning like Ragnarok being above it,
Yep.
and Thor: Love and Thunder. Because I did like the two of them,
Okay.
right? But I think the Marvels is in the middle of the two of them. Ragnarok being the best,
Yep.
right? Love and Thunder less than, right? Meaning like less than Ragnarok, right? And then
Okay.
the Marvels is in between because I felt like it did a great job of adding comedy to
Mm-hmm.
it without ruining it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like
Yeah.
it did what Ragnarok was. It was attempting to do Ragnarok, meaning like the comedy of it, but
Mm-hmm.
without trying to be Ragnarok. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It was its own movie.
Yeah, yeah. But they did such a good like they did a good job of that part. I'm
Okay.
not
I mean,
changing my ranking.
no, I'm just baffled. I'm so confused as to why you're giving it like a worse score because it's like it exceeded your expectations. Like,
How about this? When we start ranking them in order of how much I actually like them, will make more sense than a number. I will say that.
I mean, I can give you that. I'll give you that. So, like, I mean, Like
Well, because in
it's
my mind, like a 9 and a 10 are just above and beyond, right? Like
9 and 10 are perfect movies.
or shows, right?
Right.
So there, it's not that, right?
No.
And although an 8 is not something I'm good, like if you would have said to me, I have to round like to an even number, I would have gone 8. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm going with a 7.5 just because there's been so many eights lately. Like, does it compare? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's tough.
So for me, like Quantumanium and Love and Thunder uh, are 7.5. So the
Okay.
Marvels,
Okay.
I like them better. I liked it better, so it would be an 8. I'm not going to grade it higher because it definitely wasn't a movie that blew me out of the water.
No, I
I
agree.
was a well spent hour and a half. I enjoyed it. I had a good time. I laughed. I had some serious moments. It progressed the story.
And it
I'm
progressed
happy.
the entire saga as well.
Yes.
Like it did everything without going over the top or ruining anything. So like it
Yes.
was the perfect amount of everything. I agree to you on that.
Um, my whole thing is just it's like you're entitled to your ranking. I'm like I have no issue with you giving it a seven and a
No,
half.
no, no. It's more the
It's just
fact
your
like I don't.
explanation of it is hilarious.
Well, no, I think it's just for me personally, giving it a number ranking out of 10 is so difficult because I'm trying to remember how I felt about all the others, and I never remember. I'm not gonna lie to you. You know what I'm saying? Where if
So
I
you
put them in order, if I put them in order of how I like them, would make more sense to me than it would be giving them a number.
no, I mean that's fine. I'm not looking for you to tell me how you thought of them compared to other movies. I'm just like when a first reaction, you give it a number, just how I rate it out of 10.
Yeah, I just came out
Obviously,
with a 7.5. That's where mentally I was.
perfectly fine. Like I said, it's just your reasoning for it was like baffling. So,
Yeah,
but you're
story of my life.
entitled to your ranking.
Yeah,
But let us move on to Loki,
yeah.
the final
So,
two episodes of Loki.
I'm going to quickly just explain the last two episodes because they are quick to explain in the sense of like discuss what happened, and then we will go in greater detail of, excuse me, what we thought. Okay. So, episode 5 was when the entire timeline disappeared, quite literally. So
Yep.
Loki then started to time skip uncontrollably, I have to add, and found his real friends, um, meaning the versions of them that are actually on the timeline. So,
Non-variants.
correct. Casey was a prisoner in Alcatraz and escaped.
Oh yeah, Alcatraz. Yeah,
Um,
Azkaban's Harry Potter.
I know why I hesitated because I almost messed up. Alcatraz. He actually was portraying a real life guy who escaped.
Yeah, I
Frank something. I can't remember. But
yeah.
anyway, not the point. So he was there. Then we have Hunter B-15, who was a doctor in 2012. Which remember what happened in 2012?
The end of the world.
No, wasn't it? Wasn't the Avengers battle? The
Oh
first
yeah,
Avengers.
yeah. You're right. You're right. Yeah.
So anyway, so she was a doctor at that point. There was Mobius, who was a jet ski seller in the middle of the country.
He finally got his jet skis.
Explains why he likes them so much.
Yep.
Um, and then Opie is a physicist engineer until becomes a famous fiction writer. And that's not even an exaggeration.
Yep. He wants to be a writer.
So Loki then bounces around, finds Obi, gives him the TVA manual, and then he still continues to bounce around uncontrollably. And then Obi finally makes the portal. It takes him 19 months because it was enough time for him to get divorced and lose his job.
Yes.
So I believe it was either 18 or 19 months, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah. I think it was 18.
So he
That
then
one's
gathers all of the other people, right? And Loki has to find one last person, Sylvie, right? So he then asks Obi to bring him to Sylvie, and he does. And granted, nobody remembers him because none of them were the ones that actually saw him in the TVA. So when he gets to Sylvie, he tries to explain who he is, and she goes, "I know exactly who you are." And he's like,
which
"What?"
which confuses me, to be honest.
Well, no, it doesn't confuse me
I don't know. I don't why can she remember and he can't?
because she would have been able to get herself out of there.
Oh, okay. So you're saying that she escaped. Oh, okay. Okay, that does
When the
make
others
sense.
disappeared,
Yep.
she did not. So she went back to her timeline that isn't her timeline.
Okay. I see. I understand that now. I just I didn't think that she would have that she got away because Loki stayed. So I was like, okay, everyone just stayed because they thought this was the end anyways. So okay, then I guess that makes sense.
So anyway, so he goes, talks to her, drinks, and everything else, and she basically convinces him that the only reason why he wants to do this is because it's for his own selfish reasons, and that he should let them live their own lives. So he then leaves.
Now, when he went to go see Sylvie and he saw her at the truck, her food vanished.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she put her food down in the truck, and once Loki like walked in, the food disintegrated. It turned into Twizzlers.
Spaghetti. Um,
Whatever.
it's written on the TVA manual, Michael. If you read it, it would have said what it says, "Watch out, you'll turn into spaghetti," which is a sad but true thing. That's actually written on there. You know what?
I believe.
No, no. When you when you walk out of the into to go towards the sacred timeline where the
Mhm.
time weaver is, there's actually like a warning on the ground about letting you know about if you are exposed to too much time radiation, your body will turn into spaghetti
Oh, that's funny.
because that's exactly what happens.
Yeah. No, you
But
do.
anyway, I digress. So she then convinces him to go away. Sylvie goes back to her life, and that's when her timeline starts to disintegrate.
Yep.
And then she goes back after Loki goes and tells them, "Hey, you all need to go home. Like this is done." She comes back and says, "No, you were right. The entire timeline's being destroyed." And that's when time itself unraveled.
Everything falls apart, and he learns in that very instant how to control his time skipping.
And it's not who. I mean, no, sorry. It's not how, why, where, or when, but it's who. And so that was the end of episode 5. Episode 6, just to speed things up, not that we want to quickly go through it, but realistically, Loki does time skipping a lot to try to stop, to save the sacred timeline, or save the timeline, I should say. Um,
Loki believes that the answer to saving the timeline is getting Victor Timely into the loom to fix it faster before the radiation becomes too powerful for him to walk through it.
and let's just say Loki went time skipped for a millennia. No, I'm sorry, centuries.
Cent- yeah, centuries to
And
learn how to engineer.
not only how to learn engineering, but also learn every mistake that could have happened to make sure that it doesn't. To the point where he was literally going step by step, explaining everything that he should or shouldn't do, which I thought
Hmm.
was incredible. That being said,
Everyone is looking at him like, "What is wrong with
yeah, but I'm
you?"
avoiding talking about that too much right now, only because.
No,
Um,
I get it. It's funny.
but here's the thing: Mike is 100% right, and he keeps doing it, keeps doing it, keeps doing it, keeps failing, and then they finally get it right, and Loki's all excited. But apparently, Victor Timely comes up after doing it and goes and realizes it's overloading again, and he explains. He goes, "Oh, it's branching off infinitely, and I don't think we can actually scale for infinity."
Hmm.
And so Loki then realizes he's going to go back even further to where he who remains. And that, my friends, is one of my favorite parts of all time because he basically watches Sylvie kill he who remains, I don't know, at least either half a dozen or a full dozen thousand times. And
Many times.
like 12,000 minimum. And Finally, he has a conversation with He Who Remains and explaining to him that everything's inevitable. You can't stop what's already happened. It's going to continue to happen. And after a while, Loki learns how to control time and everything else because he's been doing it for so long, right? He finally realizes something, right? He then talks to Sylvie to try to figure out, like, should he kill her? Like, is that the only way to stop everything from happening? And she goes, I'm not endorsing you killing me, but I do understand it. But just know that there might be another way. So then Loki realizes that she might be right and goes back to the point where the timeline is about to explode, where they have Victor Timely and everyone else there. And he goes down, opens up the door, goes right in, and as the time radiation hits him, he transforms into a version of Loki we've never seen before. His horns are black. His entire costume is black, actually. I think it's got a little bit of green.
Yeah, I think it's a green black like silk costume.
He then uses his magic and, I guess in a weird way, blows up the Time Weaver, but all the timelines kind of look like they're dying off, right? So he then starts grabbing them little by little and infusing his energy into it and continues to do so until a portal opens up into the time at the edge of time where He Who Remains' throne once was. And he keeps gathering them to the point where he's literally wearing the time streams, all the different timelines, and walks to his throne slowly because he's got a lot of weight on him and sits down and becomes the god of stories. And that, my friends, is how that part of the season ends. The real part that ends is literally called later. And that's when we see what happens to the TVA after. Mobius leaves. He quits the TVA. B-15 is in charge of trying to figuring out how to. Their new job as the TVA is to stop the variants of I'm sorry,
Chang,
of Kang returning.
or he who remains.
I was going to say He Who Remains, right? And that's their job now.
Yep.
So we see that Victor Timely doesn't exist anymore.
Yep. He did not. Well, he exists.
But not so. Again, does it, does he go by Victor Timely without that? You know what I'm saying? He might be Victor, but he might not be Victor Timely.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
I'm being very cynical here, but I'm just making a point.
Hmm.
He doesn't become a version of Kang anymore.
Yes, he's not King.
But we see Ren. So we also see Mobius and Sylvie watching his real counterpart enjoy life, and Sylvie basically saying it's weird not having Loki around, and he's like,
Hmm.
"Yeah, I know." And then that ends, and then we see Renslayer in the area where time does not exist. We see the destruction of one TVA at her feet and a pyramid in the background. We see a purple light going towards her, which we would have normally assumed to be Eliath. But I don't think it is.
Oh, you do not?
I think it's Ramatat
Really?
coming to get her. Because you see his pyramid and a TVA thing in there, and that's paying homage to a version of Kang, which would then make me think that he's there.
Hmm. See, the only reason I disagree is because of the roar when the shadow comes over.
It's not
If
a
there,
roar, it's just a storm.
yeah, but it yelled like it roared at her.
I know, which makes me think it's not Eliath.
I think that's why it makes me. That's what makes me think it's Eliath.
Fair enough. Either way, I'm very curious to see it. I'm going with my theory, um, mostly due to the fact that Eliath. I don't know. I feel like Eliath doesn't exist anymore.
Why? The place
So,
still exists.
so hear me out. Eliath doesn't exist because, right? Because Kang hasn't controlled it. So it does exist, but it doesn't exist where it should anymore because he who remains no longer exists. It's a convoluted multiversal thing,
So are you trying to say that he escaped?
basically.
I mean, it's possible. Don't get me wrong. It's possible. um,
I mean, it's
I
tough
don't
to say.
really.
It's tough to say because the whole point I'm making is the reason for it is because with the branches breaking off and everything else, there is no sacred timeline and there's no end of time.
No, I mean, no. It's all possible.
So here's
It,
the thing: that could mean that maybe she went to an alternate multiverse, like an alternate timeline, and Elias just happens to be eating everything.
also true.
I mean, it could be true, but either way, it's King Ramatut was there somewhere.
Hmm.
That was
Yeah.
his pyramid
No, we'll find out in the next movie, or show.
or
Uh,
season
what?
or season or new
There
season.
better not be a season three.
I thought, yeah, there might be a season three.
No, there's no way that there's going to be a Loki season three. Absolutely not. That is a perfect end. There is no realm that they make a season three of that show. If they do, that just absolutely destroys the finale of Loki.
Well, it also depends on what happens with him after some of the movies.
Well, actually, no. I mean, they could do a different character, but Tom Hiddleston has confirmed that he is no longer playing the character.
Really?
He said that Loki season two was the end of his journey.
I thought he was going to make at least cameos in future projects. He wasn't going to be a big part. I thought he was still doing cameos. But anyway,
I mean, he could do cameos, but
that's true. That it's not like full.
yeah, that's not
Fair
like
enough.
continuing the story. Like
No, that's fair.
after season two or after the last this episode premiered, he went on Twitter and said that it's been a journey. So that hints that his story is over.
Okay, fair enough. Either way, definitely, I definitely enjoyed it. It was very well
Oh,
done.
great, uh, great season. I don't know what IGN is thinking, saying that this show deserves is a 5 out of 10.
I mean, the only thing I could say is like, and here's the thing, and I'm not. This is not a detriment to it because it was a great story. Story wise, though, it wasn't that long because it was a lot of repetitive stuff, but it was repetitive for a purpose. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
there was a reason for it.
Correct. No, and it worked out. I liked it. I enjoyed it. Definitely one of the better shows, hands down.
Yes. No, this solidifies Loki as the best Disney Plus show. Um,
Oh, hands down.
I think season one was still better, but the end of the season, this last episode was probably like the best episode of the show in general to me.
Well, I think the reason why season one was so good was because Loki had a bigger story arc in that season.
It was two different stories.
Well, yes, but hear me out in the sense of like Loki was a bad guy in the beginning of the season one and became a good guy at the end
Yeah,
of season one, right? Where
yeah,
season two he was already a good guy and then becomes literally the savior of time.
yeah. He
So
became what's the tree called? Yurgisville or something like that. That's the
so that was the other thing I was going to bring up. It's supposed to be the tree of life.
yes. Which they talked about in the first Thor movie about how the tree of life sees all and is the
Correct.
So it is interesting. It is interesting that Loki became that. He became the god of time, the god of stories, um, and he became the Green Infinity Stone. And I know we talked about a little bit that they're resetting up the Infinity Stones with the death of these major character, or the end of these major characters. Can't say the death. Loki being the Time Stone, Wanda
Because he
being
has
the
to, because now the time stone doesn't exist anymore. Something has to replace it, and so
Mhm.
in this place, it's actually Loki. Scarlet Witch is reality,
Yep.
and who's
Um,
purple?
who's purple? Oh, what's her name?
Agatha.
Yeah, Agatha.
And here's
Um,
the thing: it works out perfectly because the purple stone is. Do you remember?
I do not remember.
It's the Power Stone, and what is her ability? To absorb others' powers, others' magical powers, to make
Oh, okay.
herself stronger, which actually fits.
Yes, no, it does. It does.
Now she has not
Um,
solidified herself to be there yet, but maybe after her show, she will be.
there are lots of rumors going around. Like one of the people thought that the what's her name, Captain Rambo was going to be is the Space Stone. Um, but that was after the Marvels. That was a current theory. But we still have a few more stones to really get through. We've only gotten through 2 out of 6, so we'll see how it goes.
Correct. Definitely looking forward to seeing what happens, but overall, we'll see. All right. So we are now going to be moving on to the character spotlights. Michael, would you like to go first?
I will go first. Yours will most likely be better than mine, so it'll be a good end.
Actually, you can't say that. You don't know what this character's like, so let's see.
Okay. Um, Character I chose this week made her first appearance in the Man of Steel comic issue in November of 1983. She is a supervillain known as Magpie. Magpie is a jewel thief who specifically targets jewels named after birds and then replaces them with booby trapped replicas. Taking the job as a museum curator, Pi is slowly driven mad, surrounded by the beautiful things that she loves so much, but she can never own. She was notable in the pro-crisis continuity as the first villain who was defeated by Superman and Batman working together. Superman visited Gotham to apprehend Batman before Batman demonstrated his skill to track Magpie, and this convinced Superman that Batman was actually good, and instead of bringing Batman in, he said, "Nope, you gotta stay in Gotham to protect it." Um, Sometime after the post-crisis storyline, during the events of Legends, Pi was released from prison due to insanity and went on to another rampage before finally being stopped by Batman and Jason Todd and Robin. After this, Magpie disappeared until sometime later, where we find out that she's been in the Arkham Asylum being Poison Ivy's roommate. Um, Shortly after, while in Arkham Asylum, turns out that she was killed by a bunch of villains that were working under Penguin, and these villains included Tallyman, Orca, Ventriloquist, and Starface, and KG Beast. Um, Again, they were all working under the Penguin. And then after her death, she was part of the Blackest Night storyline, where she got a Black Power ring to become reanimated. Uh, After the New 52 reboot, uh, she became a member of the Secret Society of Supervillains, which was a big group that fought with the Outsiders. And then later, she was part of the Rebirth storyline, which was a reboot of the 52 universes and whatnot. She is a she is one of the villains that was taken down by Batman and Catwoman um, after just giving them the constant runaround. She had other run-ins with other heroes, including the Flash and Iris West. But that's mainly her character. She's a low villain. Not just a basic jewel thief. Nothing really too crazy about her. She, as some iterations of her, she could extend her claws. Um, she is a expert in hand to hand combat. She's considered advanced. Um, she has a very master knowledge of martial arts. She's a master thief, and she is also a master of seduction. Um, in some iterations as well, she is some iterations she is a male character instead of just a female, but not too many of those. She's mainly known as a female thief.
Okay.
And that is my spotlight.
All right, and we're going to move on right into mine. So, as I hinted at earlier, my character is Binary. Now, Binary was a name that Carol Danvers went as when she was emitting so much energy, she was literally hotter than the sun. She would radiate so much energy that her entire body looked like it was on fire. Now, that's where she got the name Binary, but there was an actual character named Binary later on. We're going to talk about that particular character. So that character was born in December of 2021 and died in April of 2023. So just recently died. So we're going to talk about the history of Binary, okay? And
I apologize for cutting you off, but I'm assuming that you mean the comic series started in 21.
no, the character first appeared in 2021. Binary,
Okay.
the character.
Okay. So
So
because
when
you
I
said
say
she was
Binary, the character, that's not Carol Danvers's version of Binary. This is Binary, the separate character. It's going to make sense in a minute. I
no,
promise you.
no, no. The only reason because you said she was born in 2021 and died in 23, so that's why I'm
Oh
like,
no,
just
sorry. She was introduced in 2021. I
yeah.
apologize.
Okay.
My apologies. I just saw death and automatically went to birth. My bad. All right, so we're going to talk about her history. So, when Captain Marvel was trapped inside the Faraday cage, specifically designed by Vex Supreme to repel her energy powers, she attempted to manipulate her photon blast differently. Inspired by Monica Rambeau's power use, as a result, by recalling her period as the mighty cosmic hero Binary, she shaped her energy into a duplicate who managed to release her from her enclosure after reabsorbing the energy duplicate. Captain Marvel had no choice but to conjure her yet another time after being kidnapped by Vox Supreme once again. So, quite literally, she uses her powers to create another being of energy just like her. Okay? Teaming up with Philavel, the mute energy from clashed for Energy Form clashed with Vex Supreme and broke Captain Marvel free. Captain Marvel theorized that being in contact with Vox Supreme's headquarters on a distant planet, nourished by the Phoenix Force and revitalizing through the original Captain Marvel's dead body, her energy form gained sentience after being in physical contact with Captain Marvel. The energy form adopted the binary visual identity and joined Captain Marvel and her friends to confront the Vox Supreme's army. During the invasion of a rogue group of Brood, Binary fought them alongside Carol and some of the members of the X-Men. However, she was killed by the Empress. But in her final moments, Binary encouraged Carol to take down the Brood. Now, Binary is literally the embodiment of her powers outside of her body. Quite literally what it is. Now, she was originally conjured as a result of Carol Danvers shaping her photon blast into a human like form. And since Danvers specifically focused on her days as a comic hero Binary to create this energy form, that's where it came to be Binary. Apparently, the energy from the assimilated parts of Danvers's memories and is recognized by others to be similar to her template. However, her being of photonic energy, Binary is unable to communicate verbally. and she has all the same powers as Carol Danvers, although she has no physical body. So she is quite literally energy on its own.
So binary literally was created by Carol Danvers, like literally.
Inspired inspired by when she herself was binary, which was a form of pure energy.
That's interesting.
So there's a version of Carol Danvers that becomes binary when
Yep.
she has so much energy to output.
Hmm.
But she created binary because she thought of binary and used her photon energy to try to create an object which turned into a sentient being.
So she focused so much that she literally created a, another
A version of
being
herself.
of pure energy.
Yep. Yep.
That's insane.
Marvel Comics, man. So I wanted to bring that up because Binary might have her debut in the MCU now as Maria Rambeau.
That'll be interesting. That'll be very
So
interesting.
obviously, it has all the powers of Carol Danvers.
Yeah. Now I'm interested now then if, if this is going to be a Captain Marvel similar inspired being or if it's just going to be like a brand new character.
Well, it's very true. I'm assuming it's going to be, at the very least, a Captain Marvel variant.
Hmm. So
Um,
Captain Marvel like becoming binary and just paying homage to the character.
yeah, I'm thinking she's more powerful because, like you said, she has the bangles, and the
Hmm.
bangles give off so much energy already, so she's able to absorb it and then really just emit it. Would be my guess,
Okay.
which would
That's interesting.
explain, which in my mind would hear me out on this, would show how potentially this version of Captain Marvel might be even more powerful than our version.
I mean, it makes sense if she hit that binary potential, then yeah, she's more powerful. I mean,
But
our Captain
Our
Marvel,
Captain Marvel can also go into binary on her own.
she just hasn't reached that potential yet.
Correct.
Because
That's
I
what
mean,
she's stated anyway.
in this most recent movie, they were talking about how she could use her energy to reignite the son of Hala.
Correct.
She was nervous because she never admitted that much energy before. So I mean, that's the most she's ever done. So
Correct. So, but my point I'm making is she might not need to use the Bengals to get there, but she's not there yet.
yeah,
But yeah, so that is my character spotlight for this episode. So thank you everyone for listening to this podcast. We very much appreciate it. We have 3 more episodes left of this year already, and we will be talking in the later episodes about what's to look forward to in the next year. But for right now, thank you very much for listening. We really would appreciate you liking and subscribing down below. And as always, let us know in the comments what you'd like us to talk about, or if you have different opinions than us. Other than that, this is going to be Scott and Mike signing out. Have a great night.